Hey, what's up, guys? It's your Storm. Welcome to part 2 of the episode of Prison Reform with Lori Collins.
Welcome back.
Hi.
What's
Hi.
up, guys?
Hi, Lori.
Hi.
How are you this evening?
I'm doing just great.
So we were just touching on something that we didn't really touch on when we were talking about you initially, and that's the fact that you, like me and Nick, are in recovery as well.
I am.
And that's something that we didn't touch on before, and I think that's a really important part of your story. Just considering that you started no better, it could be looked at as no better than the next person, nothing.
And I've always said I'm one bad decision away from being in your shoes.
Absolutely, I've always heard you say that.
So let me touch on something real quick. So you are in recovery. So you started this. What is it? TCAP?
Yes.
What does that stand for?
It's Treatment Continuum Alternative to Prison.
So you started that program after you got clean and
Yeah.
you wanted to help other people.
That's kind of why I went into the field of addiction. I've been surrounded by addiction my entire life. My father is an alcoholic. Addiction runs my family. My brother overdosed last year, accidental overdose from opioids.
Sorry to hear that.
It's always been in my life at some way or another, and so that's ultimately what led me into working with substance use disorders. But I think that my passion actually, after working in the system, leans more towards just prisons in general and incarcerated individuals in general, because I've seen so many inhumane things happen within the prison system that I can't help not be an advocate for anyone who's incarcerated, whether you're a dealer or a user or no matter what you've done. Even those, we don't want to talk about them, but even the sex offenders, they're still in this same shithole prisons, and they're probably treated worse than anybody else. So. Now,
did you have a criminal background as well, or
no?
was it
I don't.
No criminal background.
I've never been convicted.
I got you. All right.
Lucky you.
I was just curious, because that's something that.
That's not to say I haven't worn the bracelets, but.
Gotcha. So you've been arrested. You've dealt with that system. You've been.
Never been convicted.
Been to jail though.
No, I've never been in jail.
So you didn't go to jail to wait for court or anything
Nope.
like that. You did your time on the street.
Yep.
Okay.
So you did like drunk tanks and overnight holds and shit like that, maybe, or
Nope.
So
Wow.
all of your
Lucky
experience
you.
with prisons.
I know. I don't know how I got away with.
So all of your experience with prisons comes from the treatment end. You've never been there as an inmate.
I've never been there as an inmate.
Okay. All right.
No.
Can you
But-
still do that? If you've been incarcerated and you were in that situation, could you still be in the situation that you were in? Could you be doing the program?
I think that you could. I think that you see a lot of people who work in the field, in substance use field, that have criminal backgrounds. Because most people, I would say, who have a problem with addiction probably also have a problem with legal matters also.
So
The two
there's-
kind of go hand in hand.
there's it depends on the facility first of all that and the county that you're working for. There's time limits. So some places require you to not be in trouble for X amount of years before they'll let you start working inside prisons. I got a good friend, his name is Dan, who went through Northampton County Prison, is a recovering heroin addict, and now takes a class or a group into the prison, and not through an H&I commitment that you would think from Narcotics Anonymous, but he does it on his own. It's a group that he developed on his own, and he takes into one of the dorms in Northampton County Prison and sits down once a week with these guys, particularly ones that have been in and out on the merry-go-round of incarceration due to addiction.
So that's, my job is kind of formulated into something like that as well. My job specifically, they want guys who have been in the rough. They want people who have been to state prison. They want people who have been through the trenches and fought through. So I'm a CPS, but my job now just started moving into Lehigh County Prison, and I'm working with SPORE on some new types of alternative treatments with having a CPS behind the walls.
To help with reentry.
So I'm going to be working with, we just got everything smoothed out and I finished training, and we're hoping that SPORE will start having the the referrals come in, like come the first week of the new year. So we'll be able to be, it's me and one other person. We'll have a couple of hours a week to work with an inmate who's already sentenced, getting ready to release, and my job is going to be to help him manage his mental health symptoms up until release, come up with a recovery plan for after release, pick him up when he gets released, take him to where he has to go,
and help him reacclimate.
Medical, so that we can then get him into our system, and I can start my services.
That's
once
a
he's
huge
on the
step.
street.
That is a huge step because that's the missing piece. We're starting to see policy reforms and everything, especially like with state parole in Pennsylvania. They are definitely getting it. They're sending fewer people back to prison on technical violations and that sort of thing. But what's missing is who's going to help them with the reentry.
Right.
And that goes back to what I was talking about earlier with the intensive case management. You're essentially a case manager.
Essentially, I'm an underpaid case manager, which is why
Well,
I'm starting school now to become a case manager.
You know what? I got the letters behind my name, and I was still underpaid. Trust me.
Well,
it doesn't go much
I got
more.
a couple of different sets of letters behind my name. I got CPS, COAPS, all behind my name now, and I'm working on getting more. Like I strive just to go a little bit further every day. I even just took a Narcan training with Nick the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I saw that.
Did this Narcan training because we want to be able to have that on hand. Because let me
Which
tell
you should always have on you.
I got clients, I got peers that I work with that we've had to put them in rehabs and stuff like that, and I got clients who are homeless who I don't know if when I meet with them if they're going to be high on meth or what they're on or what drugs they're doing when I meet with them or what drugs they have on them or what drugs they're going to be doing in the bathroom while they're with me. Like I don't know, so it's good to have that. And, you've seen some of the flack that we were catching, like for that. Like
absolutely,
like, some people really think that this is a bad thing to be happening, but it's not. Like,
do you know when I was in Lehigh County, I shared an office with the Center of Excellence, and I would say once a week minimum they Narcan someone in my office.
And you were right there by the urine screen place too, so I'm sure people coming out of there.
Not yet. Absolutely. The first week I was in Lehigh County, I remember going outside for a cigarette and walking up and seeing this guy in this car, not completely knotted out. And I ran back and I got a couple people from the Center of Excellence came up, called 911. As soon as they were able to get the car open, Narcaned him, and he came right to. And I was so pleased with how Allentown Police handled that because there was bags in his hands, there was a needle still in his arm. They just took it out, threw it. They weren't worried about charging him or anything like that.
And that comes down to that Good Samaritan law too. That doesn't always get followed, but is supposed to be followed.
Right.
And I think the Good Samaritan law is more for the person calling 911 than it is the person that's actually knotted out or overdosed.
It's supposed to be anybody who involved.
It's supposed to be
Anyone
everybody
on the
involved,
scene.
but I know from personal experience when I overdosed a couple years ago, after they Narcan me, they went through all my shit looking for. Thankfully, there were some people around me at the time that knew enough to get rid of whatever I had on me.
I feel like
but they were definitely looking to find something on my person so they could charge me with it.
I feel like some people might be getting the wrong idea as to all the things that we talk about come down to like drug addiction, but it just so happens to be prominent in these discussions.
Right.
It's a big part of prison reform.
Absolutely.
Drugs is one of the biggest things that get people locked up.
Well, I think Lori was saying towards the beginning of the first episode, like we were talking about, the majority of crimes for people that are locked up in the United States are drug-related crimes.
Absolutely.
Either directly with the drugs itself or indirectly for committing crimes to support habits.
And treating people with addiction problems is a big part of the prison reform idea.
Right.
One of the biggest populations is people who are trapped in addiction and they're in that recycling door, or they're trapped in a mental health knot and they can't get their mind right and they keep making a mistake that gets them locked up. And it's not because they're necessarily wanting to make this mistake, it's because they're struggling with a mental health symptom and they just keep getting locked up over it. So there's things that just cause a revolving door for people that we're slowly trying to build on.
Absolutely. I had a woman that I worked with once. She actually what got her into TCAL, the crime that she committed was she bought a gun, wasn't allowed to legally buy a gun, but went in and attempted to buy a gun to commit suicide, and ended up with a case. which is just absolutely ridiculous to me. I know another one, he set his car on fire with the intent of it exploding with him in it and causing a catastrophe, which is a violent offense. Arson, which is a violent offense. At that point, I can't take him into the program.
Right.
But it was mental health. I mean, that was the causative factor.
I know when Pennsylvania shut down their state hospitals, that caused a spike in criminal cases for mentally ill people.
Yeah, it definitely did.
It really did. And unfortunately, and I know there are some changes that have happened over the last couple of years, but they're just not equipped to deal with it. Especially our law enforcement are not equipped to deal with.
They think they are.
They think they are. they think they are. But
everything.
their way of dealing with somebody who's in a psychotic episode is to beat them and handcuff them and throw them in jail.
Or tase them.
Or tase them or whatever. And you never know, especially somebody that has a history.
Or shoot them.
Right.
In front of Dorney Park.
Right. And somebody that has
that day.
Somebody that has a history of mental illness is probably still has medication in their system. You don't know what kind of medications they are on, and something like a taser could cause heart attacks or
Absolutely.
whatever.
So they're eliminating little things like that now too, and some people really don't like it, but I think it's good because I work with a lot of guys in the mental health field, and people just don't want to be noticed by their diagnosis. Like, they don't want that to be a big red lining on their file. Like, they don't want that. But unfortunately, it's a big helper. Like, if a cop's going to a residence and it comes up on his paperwork that there's somebody who lives here that has a mental health diagnosis that may be an issue, he'll better know how to handle the situation coming in.
Will he better know how to handle the situation going in, or will he go in guarded and provoke a situation?
See, and that's what we need to fight to have taken care of. Like, we need to fight to make sure that the people who are going in to handle these situations are properly trained, which is why they now have officers are being trained in trauma so that they can go in and do these things. And
I think they should have a social worker on 24 hours.
Agree. Just like in New Jersey now, I don't know if they started doing it in PA yet, but like in New Jersey with overdoses, they don't just send the ambulance no more. They send the ambulance and a CRS. And the CRS,
the Blue Guardians
Certified
program
Recovery
in Lehigh
Specialist.
County.
right? So, certified recovery specialist is someone who is. It's like my job is a CPS, which is the mental health side, and then there's a CRS, which is the drug and alcohol recovery side. It's basically just an aid. It's somebody who's been there, that's been through the shit that you're going through, that can help guide you through it.
Underpaid case management.
Absolutely. I'm getting paid,
But it is a step in the next
$15 an hour
direction.
for a $30 an hour job.
Not even $30 an hour.
No, not even, right?
No, and I have
Okay.
masters. No.
What it does do is it does help bridge that gap.
It
Coming
does.
out of prison and treatment, it's that next connection. Because a lot of times people get out of jail, they get out of rehab, and they're like, okay, call this person or go set up this IOP, but good luck, and they send you on your way. Having a CPS or CRS assigned to you before you even leave a facility helps bridge that gap and helps put a familiar face that connects you to the outside world.
Not only that, but look at the other side of it also. Look at that person who is the CPS or the CRS. That person was somebody who just a couple of years ago probably didn't think they could get a job like that.
Correct.
Right.
Who is now
Correct.
has a job that is paying their bills, puts them in a position where they never imagined they'd be able to be.
Right.
And you know what, though? That also
And-
causes problems, too, though, because
Yeah.
I talked to somebody recently that just became a CRS not that long ago, and she stated to me that she went back to school to learn more to do a different job because right now she feels like she only has a job because she's an addict.
See, but I'm grateful for that.
So what?
I'm grateful that I have a
but
job.
she doesn't want to be recognized that way.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I get
so, like,
that.
when she goes into a professional setting with a bunch of other people from the county that are not recovering addicts, she feels like that's all they're seeing her as an addict, and that kind of bothers her a little bit. But she still wants to continue her education and still work with addicts, but just in a different capacity.
Now, we've talked a lot about how addicts are treated going in and out, but with the mentally ill.
Yes.
And I made sure I said that right. Don't worry,
Uh-huh,
Lori. I
uh-huh.
made sure I said mentally ill. Lori had to get on me because I'm not PC.
And
They're
that's
crazy.
Or at least my mouth isn't PC.
and that stands for political correctness and not not for protective custody. Just so everybody's aware.